How to word references. A PowerPoint presentation for blended learning produced by Dr. Jock Wong, Center for English Language Communication, National University of Singapore. This presentation gives you an overview of how to word references, as when you cite sources in academic writing. By the end of this presentation, you should be familiar with the various ways that a reference may be worded. Most of the material used in this independent learning module comes from this source. The importance of citation in an academic context. References to a source, or citations, constitute an important part of an academic presentation, be it an oral presentation or academic paper. Despite the importance, many academic sources on citation do not discuss how to word or phrase references. This independent learning module fills the gap by discussing ways to word references to literature. By the end of this module, you should be familiar with some of the basic ways to word a reference in an academic context. Where are references usually found? Before we proceed, let us briefly discuss where references and citations are usually found. Any reference to literature in a research paper may be considered literature review. It can be found anywhere in a research paper, but commonly in the introduction and discussion sections. It can also be found in the methodology section. Academic theses and monographs may devote a chapter to literature review. Why do authors refer to other sources? It is crucial for an academic author to refer to other sources when conducting research. It gives the research credibility. Authors refer to other sources for various reasons, such as to learn about their methodology, use their data for analysis, and build on their findings. There could be other reasons too. Can you think of a few? Research papers with few references are not usually considered for publication. Some general ideas on referencing. Sources referred to can be academic or non-academic. There is a higher tendency for humanities authors to cite non-academic sources than for STEM authors to do so. When a non-academic source is referred to for ideas, it is usually indicated as such. Linguists may refer to novels, plays, movies for examples of use. They may also refer to non-academic sources for folk understanding, as when they want to examine how ordinary speakers of a language talk to each other. Plagiarism. When an academic author uses an idea from a source, they must refer the reader to the source using a citation. Using an idea from a source without referring to the source, intentionally or unintentionally, constitutes plagiarism. Plagiarism is an academic offense. It is commonly said that plagiarism can be prevented by citing the source. However, an author does not have to cite a source to prevent plagiarism. An author could simply say something vague like, "This idea comes from one of Goddard's papers." Why then do authors cite other sources? Questions for you to think about. As discussed, authors refer to literature for various reasons. But why do they cite any source that they refer to? Why do authors cite anything? Why is it not enough to say that an idea comes from a source without specifying the source? Why is it not enough to say something like, "This idea comes from one of Goddard's papers"? Why do authors cite literature systematically? Why are there conventions on how to cite? What are two important considerations for an author when they cite a source? Any reference to literature comes with two important considerations. One consideration is the citation style, such as the American Psychological Association or APA citation style, which is used in examples in this module. The other consideration has to do with how to word or phrase the reference, which is the focus of this module. It has to do with how the sentence that refers to a source is phrased. To paraphrase or not to paraphrase. STEM scholars tend to paraphrase what is said in literature. Humanities and social science scholars, in addition, often use direct quotes, which are presented in inverted commas. Either way, the author needs to process the ideas used and weave them seamlessly into their text. Here is a question for you. In everyday conversation, when do you paraphrase what someone said and when do you use their exact words? Four main ways to word a reference. An author may word a reference in four main ways. They could use exact words from a source in inverted commas or paraphrase what is said. They could present the source author's name in the sentence or in brackets. When the source author's name is used in the sentence, we may say that the style is author prominent. Otherwise, we may say that the style is information prominent. The following slides take a closer look at the four ways of wording a reference. 1. A direct reference to the source author's name and using their exact words. A reference may directly refer to the source author's name and use their exact words, which must be presented in inverted commas. This way to word a reference is obviously author prominent. See examples in colored font on the slide. Example 1. According to Goddard, semantic primes are linguistic universals. Example 2. Goddard's study suggests that semantic primes are linguistic universals. Usually, the page number is included after the year. Note the inverted commas, which mark the source author's exact words. Direct reference to the source author's name and using their exact words are common in the humanities and social sciences, but not in STEM. A direct reference to the source author's name and using their exact words. A direct reference to the source author's name and the use of their exact words seem to reflect a high degree of caution. It does not usually reflect a high strength of claim. The citing author may do it to avoid misrepresenting the source author. This way of wording a reference may be used when the idea is not widely known. Nevertheless, it may be used to strengthen an argument, especially when the source author is an authority on the subject. 2. A direct reference to the source author's name and paraphrasing what they say. A reference may directly refer to the source author's name and paraphrase what they say. This way to word a reference is also author prominent. See examples in colored font on the slide. Example 1. Goddard argues that semantic primes are found in all languages. Example 2. Goddard's study suggests that semantic primes are found in all languages. As mentioned, a direct reference to the author's name is common in the humanities and social sciences but less common in STEM. However, paraphrasing what is said is commonly found in all disciplines. A direct reference to the source author's name and paraphrasing what they say. A direct reference to the source author's name and the use of paraphrase to capture what they say reflects some caution. It reflects a reasonable strength of claim. The citing author seems reasonably confident of the idea presented in the paraphrase. This way of wording a reference may be used when the idea is more widely known. It may be used to strengthen an argument, especially when the source author is an authority on the subject. Three, an indirect reference to studies and paraphrasing what they say. Studies may be indirectly referred to when a paraphrase is used with citations. This means that the source author's names are not presented in the main sentence. See example in colored font on this slide. Example: studies have suggested that semantic primes are semantic universals. There is no direct reference to any source author in the main sentence, but a vague reference to some studies. Using the APA style, the source author's names are presented in brackets. This practice is common in STEM papers. An indirect reference to studies and paraphrasing what they say. An indirect reference to studies and the use of paraphrase to capture what they say may reflect a high level of confidence. It reflects a high strength of claim. This way of wording a reference may be used when the idea is widely known. It may be used to highlight what has been accomplished for the current study to build on. Four, simply paraphrasing what studies say. Simply paraphrasing what studies say with citations is applicable to all fields and common in STEM areas. This way of presenting ideas from a source is information prominent. See example in colored font on this slide. Example: semantic primes are semantic universals. There is no reference to any source in the main sentence. Using the APA style, the source author's names are presented in brackets. Simply paraphrasing what studies say. Simply presenting what is said in a paraphrase reflects a very high strength of claim. The status of the idea presented is expected to be close to that of a fact. It presents the idea as something that is very widely known. It may be used as contextual information preceding an explanation, argument, or discussion. Four ways of wording a reference. The first example is commonly found in humanities and social science papers but rarely in STEM. The idea presented may not be widely known or accepted. The strength of claim may not be high. The second example is also commonly found in humanities and social science papers but rarely in STEM. The idea presented is more widely known or accepted. The level of confidence expressed is higher. The third example is common to humanities, social science, and STEM papers. The idea presented is expected to be widely known. The strength of claim is high. The fourth example is also common to humanities, social science, and STEM papers. The strength of claim is very high. and the status of the idea presented is expected to be close to that of a fact. Wording a reference. How to word a reference is an important consideration for academic authors. It is not simply a matter of style or preference. It is dependent on the discipline. It reflects strength of claim. You should refer to academic literature in your discipline to find out about the more common ways to word a reference. Conclusion. This independent learning module introduces to you the idea of wording a reference. You should now have an idea of the differences between STEM and non-STEM areas. You should now have a better understanding of the relationship between how a reference is worded and its strength of claim. I hope you find the information presented in this independent learning module useful. Thank you for your attention. We have now reached the end of the module. Goodbye.